Today I'm giving you my first impressions on this Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, my fourth Royal Enfield. Yep, I bought another one. Stay tuned because I'm going to share the delivery experience, a few surprises, and my plans for this bike. I'm Patrick, this is Adventure Moto Southwest, where we cover bikes, gear, and rides. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a brief outline of how the buying process went, because I did buy it from a national dealer, not someone local, and I had it shipped. It was new. It's a 2023. I actually did a full video on this, so I'm just going to give you the very short version. Essentially, the buying experience was a 6 out of 10. There was a lot of delays that didn't need to happen in terms of, oh, we said we were going to ship it sooner. But then I reach out and they said, oh, sorry, something happened, someone doesn't work here anymore, but this new person will take care of it. So that happened and it delayed the shipping. The bike arrived with a scratch on the left mirror that you can probably see in the video right there. And it took a little bit of negotiating to get them to actually cover a replacement mirror, which I thought odd. And here we are in just about August. And I did the paperwork in March, and I'm still waiting on that part. There's been about 3 or 4 reminders from me to them about monthly. I'll reach out and say, hey, are you still going to send that mirror? And they'll say something to the extent of, oh yeah, so-and-so was supposed to do that, but they don't work here anymore, so we're going to take care of it with this new person. So that's been a thing. Also, when the bike arrived, the rear wheel, the rear brake had no power, no stopping power at all. So I did have to get it bled. And they said they would cover the cost of that after I had to ask about that. It wasn't like oh yeah, we'll definitely cover that, we'll take care of it, it came to you that way. I had to reach out and ask them and kind of almost convince them to do that. So that was a little weird. So yeah, overall like a 6 out of 10 buying experience. Definitely try to go local. The only reason I did that is because I've been wanting a blue tank Interceptor for a long time. I've been watching locally, used and new, and they have not been any for sale here where I live. There was one, but they did the 2-into-1 exhaust, and I don't understand that modification on this bike, because to me, part of the appeal is having the twin exhaust. I think that's part of the overall beauty of this motorcycle. So just my opinion, of course, but that's why I didn't go for that one. So yeah, that was a purchase experience. Delivery was fine. They contract out through a shipping service called Haul Bikes, and they were fine. They did well. They were communicative throughout the whole thing, and they came when they said they kept me updated from when they had the bike and they were taking it over from California to here. And yes, I had concerns about Royal Enfield overall reliability. Like I said, this is my 4th Royal Enfield. If you want to know more about the previous 3 Royal Enfields that me and my wife have owned that have all had issues, we did a whole video about that. Definitely recommend checking that out. But in short, we've had speedometers not working from the factory. My Continental GT would die randomly. Like after the bike was warm and I was just riding it like this, it would just die sometimes, quite frequently. So just a lot of things like that, a lot of weird stuff like that. Same thing with the Himalayan too. Not just the Himalayan cold-blooded starting issue, not just that, but it would die as well. Like they won't idle. So anyway, we've had some issues. So I really want to make it work with Royal Enfield though, because I think their bikes are gorgeous and simple, which I like, and that's the appeal of them. And of course the price point does help, and I know you get what you pay for. I get that, I understand it, but I just think they're beautiful machines, so I'm really trying to make this work. So that's why I specifically went with this dealer that was selling it, in California and had it shipped. Okay, so my first overall impressions of this bike. I've had it for 600 miles now. I've had some time to really, get used to it, and I do have some thoughts. The power is as expected. It's a Royal Enfield. It's not a super fast or powerful machine. You don't really buy it for that. This is something you just cruise around with. But that being said, no problems getting up to 70, 75 on the highway. No issues at all. You could totally ride it on the highway. Not a problem. The spark notes of my background, I've had 250s, scooters, all the way up to Ninja 1000s and everything in between. So I'm by no means like a speed demon or anything like that. But, I've ridden a good amount of bikes, ranging from all the way from scooter to liter. So this one has plenty of power for almost anything you would need road wise. You can overtake people just fine. So I wouldn't hesitate, to let that be a concern unless you're specifically looking for speed. If so, and that's something, torque and all that, then don't get this bike. This isn't for you. This is not that sort of machine. This is cruise around and just enjoy the ride and enjoy the nice views. That's what this is all about. A couple other things related to my first thoughts on this bike. The mirrors are okay. They're not great. They're a little vibey at high speeds, and at any sort of bumps off-road especially, they kind of start drooping. So they're definitely cheap. They're not the best. I'll probably replace those down the road, but for now they're fine. I'll use them until I really, really need to. Tires are okay. Traction is fine. In the wet, it's decent enough, but you're not ripping around corners anyway when it's wet outside and you're riding. So yeah, they're fine. I'm not going to swap them out early. I am going to ride them through until I need to swap them out, just because I don't like wasting tires essentially. But I am looking forward to an upgrade there. The brakes are okay. They're adequate. It's not super strong stopping power by any means, but they'll get the job done. But just don't expect a huge bite when you clamp down on the bikes. They don't have that same bite that some other bikes have. And then the ergonomics are actually better than I anticipated. I sat on one of these at the dealership long before I decided when I was considering buying one. And I'm coming off of from a Royal Enfield perspective, my last one was a Continental GT, which has clip-ons. They're not true clip-ons, but they are pretty low. And I didn't want that, so I wanted to be upright. I prefer to be like upright, like how I am on an Africa Twin or on my Rally. That's what I really like. And I was hoping these handlebars would get me close to that, and they do. I was afraid, though, when I went to the dealership to sit on it, that it was actually a tad too leaned forward. But it turns out in actual usage, it's fine. It's good. It's actually my weight is not on my wrists. I do have a slightly forward lean, but it's good. I think I can get away without a handlebar riser. I thought I was going to need to get one for sure, but I'm now thinking that I can hold off at least for a little while on that. It's pretty comfy, and I've been on it all day. Even today, I've been on it all day, so no issues. Seat is decent. Gets a little hard after a while, but at least it's somewhat wide, so you can shift your weight around and move to different spots. The pegs are slightly back, so you have that contributing to that slight forward lean, and they are slightly on the higher side, but they're not high, but they're going towards that. So I do feel that my legs here are almost level. It doesn't bother me. I mean, I've ridden the XT250 on the New Mexico BDR, for God's sake, so that doesn't bother me, but I can see some people feeling cramped on it. For reference, I'm 5'11", and I feel totally fine and comfortable on this bike. I am also familiar with different riding positions, such as my Harley, which has forwards. So I know what it's like to have your feet out like that and stretched out. So this is not in any way uncomfortable. It's just a neutral riding position to me. Okay, next up, things you need to know if you're considering a Royal Enfield, specifically an Interceptor. The first would be the braking period. Be aware of early valve checks with this machine, and a little bit more frequent than other machines. Some machines can go as far as 10, maybe 12, 13, 14,000 miles before they need a valve check. But on these old air-cooled machines, they need it a little bit sooner. So that is a factor that you need to consider, because either you're going to be doing them and taking off parts in the engine to get to them, or you're going to be paying the dealership to do it or any repair shop, and that is something that is a little bit more expensive than just getting an oil change or anything like that. Along the same lines, the service intervals in general are a little bit closer together on this machine compared to something you would find from Honda or Yamaha. So most people are probably going to want to switch out the exhaust right away. On this bike, the exhaust to me sounds decent. It's a little bit towards the sewing machine end of the spectrum, but it's not quite that bad. There is a little bit of a rumble, but it's definitely choked up. I'm considering swapping out for the S&S exhaust. I had that on my Continental GT previously, and I found it to be the perfect balance of getting a nice growl, a nice rumble, but not being overly loud where it annoyed my neighbors, or at least I don't think it did. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing long term with this, but for now I am enjoying the quieter exhaust. That being said, you may or may not feel the need to mod too much else with this bike. Simplicity is the overall charm with this machine. A common thing that people do is they'll switch out the seats, they'll change out the mirrors, maybe for some bar end mirrors. Those are certainly things you can do, add some bags. You could definitely modify this bike to do whatever type of riding you're looking for. It is that flexible enough that it can do some touring, it can do commuting, things like that. But for me, this is going to be an in-town commuter / weekend warrior machine. So I'm probably not going to do too much to it, just to keep it simple. And I already like the way it looks and feels as is. Okay, next, should you buy one? If you're a beginner, I think this is a great starting bike that gives you enough power to grow into, but not so much that you're on a 600cc inline cylinder bike that you could easily be a little too reckless with. This one's not going to get you into trouble. It feels more like a 400cc bike to me because of just how little power it makes. So this is a good starting bike in my opinion. I also think that this is a good bike if you're returning to motorcycling, or if you're someone like me that has had plenty of fast bikes and you just want something to cruise around in. Maybe this is a second bike. This is a good one for that. Now, if you're a 20-year-old and you're coming off of your Ninja 400 and you want to upgrade for speed and power, this is not your bike. This is more of a refined experience. It's got some character, some soul. It's not about just revving it out. So you won't be happy if there's any sort of need for high acceleration or speed. And otherwise, it's great for cruising. It's decent in the corners. It's not amazing in the corners, but it's decent. And overall, it's okay off-road. The suspension is good enough. It handles a lot of bumps fairly well. Like I said, there's specific use cases you may be looking at that it may not be the best fit. For me, it's a sweet spot between style, price, and function. So I'm one of those people where this is an extra bike. It's not my main bike, although I do think it could be. But for me, I like to have something that's a little bit more off-road capable, like a dual sport, and then something else in the garage. I'm lucky enough that I actually have 2 road bikes and 2 dual sports, so that's really nice to have. But if it was just 1 and 1, yeah, this would be a great road bike if you don't have any interest in going off-road, or if you just want to do occasional dirt roads like going to your house, that would be fine. That being said, it is an Indian bike. It can absolutely handle some dirt roads. Obviously, there's a lot of rough and dirt roads in India, and people use it for that. I wouldn't worry about that, but it is going to be a lot happier on the road. Are you considering getting an Interceptor or any Royal Enfield? Let me know your thoughts or questions below. I try to respond to every comment. All right, now it's time to talk about passenger accommodations, and for that we have Desiree.
Hi, so Royal Enfield has one of my favorite ergonomics for both a rider and a passenger, and this one is no different. Absolutely comfortable, everything seems to fit naturally. The only thing I would possibly change is the back right peg. It sits a little close to the exhaust, so I could foresee that being an issue for some people.
And Desiree has previously owned a classic 350 from Royal Enfield, so how does this compare to that in terms of sitting in the driver's seat?
Both are very comfortable and both fit very naturally, kind of like I stated before. This one's a little heavier and harder to pull up, but I still don't have many issues being 5'5" and 125 pounds. They're both very approachable.
I hope you found this video helpful. If you liked it, go ahead and hit that like button for me. If you didn't like the video, go ahead and hit that like button for me anyway. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.